Good evening and welcome to the League of Women Voters Candidates Forum. Tonight we're going to hear from the two candidates for Oxnard Mayor. I'm David Barrett, a member of the League of Women Voters. A couple of questions or instructions for you. We ask you to please hold your applause till I have you do that at the end. We like to keep things moving. We're only going to have these two candidates for mayor. The third one was unable to attend. I'd like to ask everybody if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce the President of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County, Betsy Patterson.
Can you hear me? Good evening. I'm Betsy Patterson, President of the League of Women Voters of Ventura County, and I just wanted to give you a little information about the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters was founded in 1920 after the passage of the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote. At that time, the suffragists who had worked for 72 years to get the right to vote realized now they had 27 million new voters that didn't know anything about voting or about how to evaluate candidates and issues. So they formed the League of Women Voters, with its goal being to get people registered to vote, educate them about candidates and issues, and encourage them to exercise their right to vote, hopefully having been informed about the candidates so that they would vote wisely. From its beginning and continuing on today, the League of Women Voters has been a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose any particular candidate or any particular political party. We do publish nonpartisan information about ballot propositions, and we do take stands on the propositions on which we've done studies in the past to develop a position. If we don't have a position on it, we don't take if we don't have a policy or a study on it, we don't take a position. Oh, and I almost always forget this, and I should. The League of Women Voters is not just for women, even though it's in their name. Since 1974, we have included men in our membership, being one of the first kind of exclusive clubs to open its membership to the opposite sex. So we welcome all people from the age of 16 and up to join us, to encourage people to vote, to help register voters throughout the county. We go on the high school and college campuses and go to businesses if they invite us to come register their employees. Our mission, simply stated, is empowering voters, defending democracy. So welcome tonight. Thank you for coming. I hope you become an informed citizen and can exercise your right to vote on November 6th.
Thank you. And we are going to begin with opening statements. Candidates, you have a minute and a half. I'll direct your attention to our timers right over there. And they'll be able to show you when you have 30 seconds, 15, and then ask you to stop. We're going to begin opening statements with Aaron Starr, but before we do that, I want to point out that there is a third candidate, Mario Quintana, who is unable to be here tonight. And per league rules, if a candidate is unable to attend, they can send a statement. So I'm going to go ahead and read the statement now from Mario Quintana. Good evening. I regret that I am unable to attend tonight. I needed to travel out of town for a family event, the plans of which were made before I decided to run for the office of mayor. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for their contribution to the city of Oxnard to inform the public of their options this November. I plan to attend all remaining events moving forward. Thank you to all of those in attendance. Mario Quintana. We'll now move on to our next candidate, Aaron Starr, 1.5 minutes.
First of all, thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting on this event, and thank all of you for caring enough about Oxnard to be here today. Most of all, I want to thank my wife Alicia, she's in the front row, Deputy Mayor Imagine a well-run city with transparent finances. Imagine well-maintained streets. Imagine crime-free neighborhoods. Imagine working with our schools so that our children are taught the schools they need to succeed in the 21st century economy. Imagine attracting businesses that offer higher-paying jobs so our children can afford to live here. I'm here to tell you that all this is achievable. Oxnard has great potential, and we deserve nothing less than to realize that potential. Every 2 years you hear promises. Soon after the elections, those promises are forgotten and unfulfilled. And you hear the same promises 2 years later. Many of you already know me as the controller of a local billion-dollar manufacturing company. You know me as someone who keeps promises, gets things done, and who is an agent of change. We don't have to do things the way we've always done them. I'd like to close by saying that at Monday night's forum, Tim, you lied in your closing remarks when you said, "I don't see people." You voted to have the city sue me personally at taxpayer expense, great cost to me and my wife. And you have sued the city 3 times while you're on the city council. So please don't get all happy about you don't sue people. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Tim Flynn.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters. I've had them as presenters in my college classroom, and the students that I've had in my classes have really benefited from what they've been able to do. As your mayor, my focus, almost my singular focus, has been on quality of life in the city of Oxnard, and specifically in neighborhoods. I've led the fight against graffiti here in the city of Oxnard and established one of the best graffiti or anti-graffiti programs in Ventura County, and it's a model program for the state of California. I've supported the police department in their needed funding to fight gangs in the city. I've advocated and continue to advocate for more police officers to be on the gang enforcement unit. And finally, I'm a very strong supporter of the gang injunction along with a robust intervention program. I'm the first mayor in the history of Oxnard, 100+ years, that has supported higher quality education here in the city, and in particular, I've supported magnet schools. I've also led the city council to approve $20 million in Measure O money to be spent on paving streets. And finally, I have fought I deliberately and I've purposely fought for open space and maintaining open space in the city and preserving farmland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll begin, Tim, with you on the first question. We're just going to bounce back and forth between you two. So the first question is, what is your plan for the Edison plants when those both close down? Who's going to clean that up? What's going to happen in Oxnard?
So the Edison plant, or formerly it was an Edison plant, Edison was forced to sell what is the NRG plant to emerge out of bankruptcy several years ago. NRG closed the power plant in March of this past year, and I have consistently said that it is the obligation of NRG to dismantle that plant. NRG had to close their plant by 2020 because it's a once-through cooling plant. That plant is obsolete. It was built over a half-century ago, and it should be, as a good corporate citizen, it should be their responsibility for removing this plant from the beach. It's no longer a coastal dependent plant, and we're going to work hard to work with NRG and any other entity here in the state of California that will help us remove that plant from the beach.
Thank you. Aaron, what are your thoughts about the closing down of the power plants?
Well, for one, all the dirty water that we have out there was anticipated by a report that was done back in 2002 when we did the Seabridge project. And the mayor knew about this. There was a decision by the mayor to say, hey, we don't know why we're having trouble with the water out there. But he knew that. His own father signed a memorandum of understanding between the city and Seabridge. One of the parts of the agreement was that there was going to be ongoing water testing. Another part of the agreement was that there was going to be a revised water study once NRG were to close down that power plant. The EIR actually anticipated that. And yet, At other forums, the mayor's been going around saying, oh, we have no idea. Of course we know. Of course we know. And the developer put in $250,000 towards mitigating this, just in the event that this would happen. And the city has not released the funds yet. They don't admit that it was there. Well, of course, suddenly on Tuesday's city council meeting, we now have on the agenda to finally release that. It was $250,000 of funds, which the folks at the harbor deserve to have to clean up that water.
Thank you. Aaron, we're going to start with you on the next question. If you're elected, how will you vote on wastewater rate increases?
I think that what we pay for wastewater is just atrociously high. We have managed to, with the existing water rates right now, with the increases that we've had, we have roughly about $30 million of reserves that we built up in a very short period of time. And that doesn't include the $9.5 million that the state just contributed. So there's a lot of money that's there. The reason why they're raising the rates so much is because they want to go into debt, hundreds of millions of dollars. Hundreds of millions of dollars. This is just insane. I mean, the amount of money needed to do the repairs, the urgent repairs that the city has documented over the next couple of years, 2-3 years, is like $8 million. Throw in some vehicles they want, we're up to like $11 million. So no, I'm not in favor of raising the rates further than what we have now. The city actually has put in a poison pill in their, there's a complicated agreement with the bank, a letter of credit tied to a credit swap. And even though the city council gave direction to their consultants to go and take out something out there which would keep us from lowering rates again, well, they decided to, this mayor actually signed an agreement anyway that says you can't lower rates ever. And that's just appalling.
Thank you. Tim, same question to you. If you're re-elected, what will be your vote against, how will you vote about wastewater increases?
So the City Council, over the last 2 years, approved 2 rate increases for the sewer system. And those rate increases were, the first time, $10 a month on average per household, and the second time, $14 a month over a 5-year period, for a total of $24 a month. And I'm proud to announce the fact that we've secured $9.5 million in funding that's going to immediately address the most urgent repairs at this wastewater plant. I believe that the ratepayers deserve a thorough explanation on how that money is going to be spent. The City Council, or no future City Council, is going to need to raise rates within the next 5 years. And I'm proud to announce that the wastewater system, which was on the verge of collapse, it failed 6 times. 6 times that wastewater system failed. It is on, right now, a road to recovery, and it is on the road to financial recovery. So I'm very proud to announce the fact that there won't be further rate increases in the next several years, and that'll give us some breathing time to figure out, with the existing infrastructure needs, what are we going to do in the future about this wastewater plant. And I'll end by saying, Aaron, it's not $250,000, it's $287,000 with interest, and I made sure it got on that agenda for Tuesday.
Thank you. Tim, we'll go to you for the next question. Tell us about your solutions to homelessness in our city.
So since we here in the city of Oxnard have had for some time a homeless crisis, and I've actually come up with numerous ideas on what to do, but really what it's all about, and it really cutting to the chase, because this is a circular argument over and over again about how to deal with homelessness. It is not rocket science to figure out that when you have people that are homeless and they're on the streets, they need to be housed, they need mental health treatment, they need help. We need to get them off the streets, get them out of the parks, and I've been working for the last year to establish a permanent homeless shelter. We're going to have a temporary shelter at the National Guard Armory. That's something we're working through right now, but we're going to establish a permanent shelter along with the City of Ventura. We're going to get funding from the County of Ventura, as well as the state of California. So it's not rocket science in how to deal with this problem. We need a shelter, and we need to get these people help, and specifically, they need mental health help, because most of the chronically homeless people in this county, about 1,300, have mental health issues, and many of them are service resistant. We need to get them help.
Thank you. Aaron, same question to you. What are your solutions for homelessness in the city?
Before I address homelessness, I wanted to address a lie that the mayor just told you. He said there won't be any future rate increases. The cost of service study that was put out, commissioned by the city, recommends 6% annual rate increases after this 5-year period, 6% every year to eternity. So he did not tell you the truth. What he also didn't tell you was that the city council would not vote for an annual report to make sure that our CIP, our projects, were actually done with the money. We've had 3 different rate increase studies saying we need to do all of these different projects, and they did not happen. And that's why we wanted an annual report. We never got it. He didn't want to have it. Regarding homelessness, huge problem everywhere, all throughout the country. I don't know if anybody actually has a satisfactory answer for how to deal with that. I don't think either of us really have a great answer. I can tell you that most of the homeless problem, unfortunately, is due to mental illness, is due to people who are drug addicted, and it's not a matter of putting them in a house, they actually will not stay in a house. And I think that we need to have our homeless services catering to the local folks who are temporarily homeless because of some reason, fire, spousal abuse, something like that. Today we have programs that are a magnet where people all over the country come to Oxnard to be here, and that's just not acceptable.
Thank you. Aaron, we'll start with you on the next question. And this is great for the League of Women Voters. We're delighted to be here in South Oxnard. I think it's fabulous to be able to have this building, and thank you to the City of Oxnard for that. So let's talk about the City of South Oxnard. First question, I've been living in South Oxnard for years now. The only changes I've seen are low housing buildings after low housing buildings. What are your plans for the neighborhood, and what are your ideas to upgrade South Oxnard? So a basic question here is, what are your plans to upgrade South Oxnard?
For decades, the city leadership has failed South Oxnard, utterly failed South Oxnard. Look around the streets. I mean, look at just Channel Islands Boulevard. That's just horrendous. The only part of Channel Islands Boulevard that actually is nice is when you get to Port Wyoming, because they actually know how to prepare their streets. So, I mean, you have lights that are out all over that have never been replaced. You have filth everywhere because the city doesn't come by and pick up the garbage in the public places. It is just complete neglect. I feel really, really bad for people that live in this part of town because you are horribly ignored. And this is really, what this really comes down to is a management problem. We have city staff who are just not out there doing their jobs. I've got people calling me up, give me inside information all the time to say, we've got city staff sleeping in their trucks, and they're not doing their work out there. They send me pictures. I'm like, this is just atrocious. We need better management. Our folks can do the work. Other cities get the services that they need. South Oxnard deserves the cities. You're paying extra half-cent sales tax for all of this, and you don't get the services. Better management will get us the service we need, not what we've had for these years.
Tim, same question to you. What are your plans on upgrading South Oxnard?
Well, I'm a little bit more optimistic about the future, and I think in particular, when it comes to South Oxnard, we're talking about city services. It could be argued that South Oxnard actually receives, in terms of the city budget, and just speaking about parks in particular, it receives a considerable amount of money. I mean, College Park, for one, cost the city $18 million. So all the improvements at College Park were $18 million. And a lot of the projects and a lot of the focus of the city and the services were right here in a beautiful center, the South Oxnard Center. Right next door to us is a modern library. It's one of the newest libraries anywhere in Ventura County. So
Please, that's not acceptable. If you want to make comments, you're going to have to leave.
thank you very much.
Okay, Tim, please continue if you wish.
So I'm a little bit more optimistic about Oxnard and its future. And the main problem in South Oxnard is its economic decline. And everyone knows that, right? I mean, the Center Point Mall that used to have Mervyn's was replaced by Walmart. It's indicative of something. So the incomes here, many of the residents that live in South Oxnard, not all the residents, have declined. And so it's important that we address the issue of higher paying jobs. And I'll be talking about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to actually, let's stay on the topic and talk about jobs. So what are some of the ideas that you both have? And Tim, we're going to start with you. As far as building and bringing jobs here to Oxnard, and not just low-paying jobs, but well-paying jobs, things that people can have a family around.
Well, as I mentioned in our last forum, the last thing that Oxnard needs are minimum wage jobs. We have enough minimum wage jobs here in the city. And specifically, I have advocated, and a lot of this came from my experience of living in the Bay Area, where, as everyone knows, Silicon Valley and high-tech, biotech, and medical research jobs, otherwise known as new economy jobs, offer those higher salaries that we're talking about. As I stated last week, we have an education gap here in the city of Oxnard. We have too many younger people that are opting not to attend college. We need to work on that, and I believe that magnet schools, like the school that's in River Park, that's going to open soon. It's a STEAM academy, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, engineering and math. That academy and academies like it are going to do what it takes to elevate the educational expectations and standards here in the city of Oxnard and move Oxnard forward when it comes to attracting new employers. These employers who bring these new economy jobs, they engage in something called clustering. So there's a reason why they come to a certain area, and educational standards are first and foremost. So as a teacher and someone who has taught for 25 years, I'm intent on doing that.
Thank you. Same question to you, Erin. What are your thoughts and plans for bringing well-paying jobs to Oxnard?
I'd like to remind the folks that the mayor's been in office since 2004. And it comes across really optimistically every 2 years. And we don't get what we deserve. I'm the controller of a $1 billion company. We are known for paying very, very well. People really want to work for our company. And I understand business. My background as a CPA, as a businessman, I understand business. And one of the things that happens is that businesses, frankly, have real difficulties coming to Oxnard. I hear about this all the time. The mayor will talk about a one-stop permit center all the time. It doesn't exist. When you talk to people out there, it's been years trying to get permits. We actually have fewer businesses in Oxnard than you'll find in Ventura, and you'll find in Thousand Oaks, even though we have almost twice the number of people. It's because our permitting system's completely broken. That's why we don't get all the higher paying jobs here. That's why our children and our grandchildren have to move away for opportunities because they can't afford to live here because they can't get those high paying jobs. And that's just not acceptable. If you really want change, bring in someone who understands business. And I will bring in higher paying jobs. I understand the mentality of these businesses. I can do that. Mayor Flynn, you're just not equipped for that, I'm sorry.
Erin, we'll stay with you for this next question. Please share with us your position on immigration.
Immigrants are what made this country what it is. And my grandparents came to here. My grandfather escaped from Tsarist Russia and stayed in Israel and eventually made himself out here. He made a great life for himself. He contributed so much. And we need to recognize that. There are definitely people that want to come here to make a better life. And those that want to come here to make a better life, They ought to. They ought to be able to do that. If you're a productive person, I want you here. And if you're here not to be productive, I'm not really crazy about that. But if you're here to make an honest life for yourself, I think we need more people like that. Now, we really don't have much to do with immigration. That's all federal. But I can tell you that I certainly don't have any ill feelings towards somebody who wants to make a better life for themselves.
Thank you. Tim, same question to you. What are your views on immigration?
I think the vast majority of people in the United States of America want to fix what everyone agrees is a broken system. And we know that here locally, in particular because of agriculture, this economy, Oxnard's economy, which is a diverse economy, is very dependent on farm labor. And without immigration reform, it places a $1 billion plus industry like agriculture in peril. And so I believe that we need to forge a consensus in this country. It's very unfortunate with the partisan atmosphere in Washington, D.C., how divisive it is, that politicians in Washington have not been able to compromise on what arguably is one of the most important issues facing the United States of America today. So I have a lot of hope, and that we're going to capture what is the great majority, I think probably the silent majority, which advocates reform and once and for all puts this behind us so we can get moving on continuing this amazing period of economic growth.
Okay, thank you. And we'll go to you, Tim, for the next question. Let's talk a little bit about the environment. Certainly down here in South Oxnard, you have a jewel in Ormond Beach. What is your vision for Ormond Beach, and also your view about climate change here and how it will affect the city?
Well, Ormond Beach has arguably been the cause célèbre of not just the city council, but many people who want to see Ormond Beach restored to its original habitat. There are many people here in this audience that have spent decades fighting to restore Ormond Beach and to get industry off the beach. Looks like we have a pathway, I believe, to doing that, but it's going to take a lot of money. So Ormond Beach is one of the greatest resources in all of California. It's the last undeveloped wetlands in Southern California, and it offers this city, I believe, a great and a continued reason to come to Oxnard as a tourist destination. So when we're talking about making money and we're talking about higher paying jobs, and again, the tourist industry doesn't always pay the highest wages, I believe that Ormond Beach has a great future, and in particular, it offers a great future for business in the city of Oxnard.
Thank you. Same question to you, Aaron. What is your vision for Ormond Beach, and also talk about climate change and how it may affect the city?
I'll talk more about Ormond. I'm not a climatologist or expert on that. I think Ormond Beach should be preserved. I think that my preference would be for folks like the Nature Conservancy to come in there. They do a much better job of preserving natural habitats than cities do or governments do typically. So I definitely want to lean more on the nonprofit sector to try and accomplish that. We really don't have a lot of money. I mean, the reality is that because of our anti-business mentality here in town, we don't have the revenues to do many of the wonderful things we'd like to do, like the streets and more police and that sort of thing. You need to first take care of that before you can even have a chance of dealing with things like Ormond Beach. So, while the mayor comes across as very optimistic, and every 2 years he does, he doesn't have a way of getting the money to do this. I can bring in the higher paying jobs that actually make all of these possibilities possible.
Thank you. Aaron, we'll start with you on the next question. Share with us your vision of public safety, protecting the people, injunctions. Talk about South Oxnard and how you want to deal with public safety.
Mr. Chip. Ask that one more time. You had several subjects. I want to cover them all.
So, public safety, protecting the people here in South Oxnard in the city, and also the gang injunction.
Well, first of all, I went to the mayor today. He voted for a budget that caused the layoff of 16 police officers. And that really hurts South Oxnard a lot. You deserve to have the resources to defend this part of the city and to protect you from gangs. And the gang injunction is something that we need. We need something like the gang injunction, not exactly the form that we have. We need a way where there's due process, where if someone's going to be put on the gang injunction, they should be notified sufficiently so they can say, hey, I'm not on a gang. Let them have a chance to defend themselves. And if later on in life, if they leave, there should be an opportunity, some mechanism to be off the gang injunction. So what we had before didn't really work very well. But I'm confident that we can come up with a gang injunction that meets constitutional muster that will survive the courts. It has done a lot of good for this city. So it just needs to be done the right way so that we still protect people's rights. I'm a big believer in that. But we need something like that to protect South Oxnard and frankly all of Oxnard. Now, public safety, we need to bring in more business revenues so it's possible to hire more police again. This is really the bottom line. It's a revenue problem. And this mayor cannot bring in those revenues, can't bring in those businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Tim, do you need me to repeat the question?
Sure.
So, what is your view about public safety here in South Oxnard, protecting everyone, and also gang injunction?
Well, I like to think that it's just not public safety in South Oxnard, it's public safety citywide, that's first and foremost. You know, I'm not apologetic about being a fiscal conservative. If you have to cut a budget to live within your means, then you have to cut a budget. And public safety, in our budget, gets 66% of our $125 million general fund budget. 66%. And just as a comparison, neighboring Ventura is 52%. We're spending, ladies and gentlemen, more money on public safety than any other city in Ventura County. And so to say that public safety isn't a top priority is simply not true. Because as a percentage of our budget, we're the leader in the county of Ventura. Secondly, the gang injunction. The gang injunction is one tool to combat gangs. I am a strong supporter of the gang injunction, but I believe that the gang injunction needs to be revised to make it more effective. And how do I mean more effective? Well, I believe that we need to really focus on getting these 2,500 young men who are making very poor choices. We need to give them a pathway to get out of these gangs. And that pathway oftentimes involves a job. It involves an opportunity, and it involves leadership. I'm prepared as mayor not only to do that, but I'm prepared to take this to the next level.
Tim, we'll start with you on this final question. And this is a little bit higher level, might be a nice change. So tell us about why you believe voters should vote for you. What is that best quality that makes you the right person for this job? And also, could you explain if you do have the time with your day job to act as mayor? So can you represent the city even though you have a day job? And what's that best quality that makes you the one voters should choose?
That's a great question. You know, when you're asked, you know, why are you such a great guy? I don't think that there's anyone that is really that special or that unique when it comes to public service. I think it's just a commitment to serving people. I think that's really at the core of it. What my qualities are and what I think I'm able to offer is, for the first time since I've been on the city council, I am no longer a public high school teacher, and I am going to devote myself full time to this job. I devoted myself full time before, but that was in the evenings on the weekends. Now it's going to be early in the morning till late at night. So I am going to be a full-time mayor on a part-time salary, and I will say that over and over again. Support any pay increases, full-time mayor on a part-time salary. Just as a parting thought, public service is not something that you just wake up one day and stumble into. Public service is a passion. Public service is an honor. Public service is my passion, and I want to continue to serve people. So if I can impart that passion, I'm successful.
Thank you. Aaron, same question to you. What is that best quality that would make voters choose you? What do you think that is? And will you be able to fulfill the duties of mayor with your daytime job?
Before I address that, I'd like to tell you about a statistical sleight of hand that the mayor just told you in the last question. He says that Ventura spends a lot less on their budget than we do. What he doesn't tell you is that they have more police officers per capita than we do. And the reason why is because they have more revenues. The reason why their percentage is lower is because they have a bigger budget, because they actually bring in the revenues that this mayor can't bring in, which is one of the reasons why I think I'm the best suited for this job. I can bring in the revenues. I can bring in the businesses with the high-paying jobs. That's going to make everything possible. And even if the mayor does full-time what he does today, without money, he's not going to do a better job for you, because he just doesn't have the resources, nor does he have the management background to do it. So you're not going to get anything better than what you're getting from him now. You've been getting this since 2004. So look at what around you. Look at how things are taken care of. And ask yourself, are you really getting the services that other nearby cities are getting? Other cities like Camarillo, great streets. Ventura has even better streets. We have the worst streets in the county. In Oxnard, and South Oxnard is by far the worst in Oxnard. So if you want change, I think I'm the person for you. And I want to bring that change. And I want to bring you the results that, I'm sorry, the mayor just can't do, as optimistic as he is.
So thank you to both candidates. We're going to now begin our closing statements. We'll do it in the reverse order that we did it earlier. Candidates, again, you have 1.5 minutes. We'll start with Tim Flynn.
Thank you very much, once again, David, for running an excellent forum. I want to thank everyone here that just showed up to this great exchange, I believe, of ideas. I, ladies and gentlemen, have focused my attention as mayor on uniting this community, not dividing the community. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't tell people as a leader, either you do what I say or I'll sue you. Do what I say or I'll recall you. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders simply don't do that. Leaders work together with people. Secondly, as your mayor, I have the experience to lead this city, not only for the next 2 years, but specifically to bring those very jobs that Mr. Starr is talking about. I don't know if he has a track record that he can say that he has of bringing jobs, but you know, we just had a high-paying defense contractor locate here in the city of Oxnard. And finally, I have a proven track record of getting things done. He might perhaps have amnesia or selective memory, I'm not sure what it is, but my top priorities as your mayor will be number one, first and foremost, economic development, and number two, restoring the service levels in this city to make sure, again, that every neighborhood is prioritized. No neighborhood in the city deserves anything but the best. Thank you very much.
We need a new battery, Miguel, I think. Okay. Aaron, your turn, 1.5 minutes.
Thank you again for caring enough about Oxnard to be here today. Hopefully by now you can see who can bring you the future you deserve. You have before you starkly different people. With me, here's what you can expect: someone who listens, someone who understands that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone, someone who brings together people together and seeks a middle ground, someone who won't tell one audience one thing and tell another audience the opposite, someone whose words matches his deeds, someone who will bring experience managing teams, someone who will look to the long term, someone who is fiscally prudent, someone who will give you the good news and not hide the bad news, someone who will focus on the future and not just blame the past, someone who can see the big picture and can also dive into the details, someone who is not a showman or a salesman, particularly used car salesman, which you used to be, or there just to hear himself talk. Someone whose promises result in actions. Yes, the incumbent and I are very different people. And if I should be honored as to your support for mayor, you can count that I'll be your biggest champion here in South Oxnard. So South Oxnard, let's build a future together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. How about a round of applause? I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of our volunteers to put this on. The League of Women Voters were all volunteers. We had help from Melanie and Carmen up here on the sorting table, our timers, Betsy and Maddie, handing out cards with Doris and Karen, Adela, Suki, Diana, Carmen, and Carol. This was recorded, I know, on KADY TV and possibly another organization. It'll be available on KADY TV in the coming days. At that back table there, you have membership information for the League of Women Voters. There's also information on the ballot propositions. You have 11 propositions, 1 through 12. We skipped 9 this year. And there's also a donation jar if you support. Because we need to buy one now. Let's see if we come up with money for that. No, I'm just joking. Thank you all. We're going to take about a 4 or 5 minute break, and then we'll be right back to the city.